Good evening, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California, this is Bhakti Community. We are very excited to launch a brand new program, Bhakti Wisdom, a program dedicated to sharing the distilled wisdom from timeless text. Our host tonight is Navina, a spiritual entrepreneur who leads Bhakti San Francisco Spiritual Center. He guides individuals through his personal experience from close to 4 decades of Bhakti practice. He'll be talking on the art of giving. Welcome, Navina. How are you doing?
Hare Krishna, JM. Thank you for having me. And thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm very excited to be here amongst all of you. So today's topic is the art of giving. I offer my respects to Srila Prabhupada, all my spiritual masters, and to all of you. Bhakti is about relationships. And relationships means there's give and take. I had to learn that the hard way many moons ago when I was a teenager. And I went door to door in Switzerland. And old ladies used to go to their kitchen and get me a bar of chocolate. That was a regular occurrence. So initially I said, no, 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 no. No, I don't want it. I don't eat chocolate. But then I saw the cringe on the face of the old lady who felt refused. She felt neglected by me. And I realized that we may think one way, but what about how does the other person feel? So the opposite of love is not hate, but it's actually indifference. It's when you just neglect somebody. Have you ever been neglected, or somebody ghosted you or didn't reply to your messages? You can just, imagine, how does that make you feel? Like you want to extend yourself, you want to share your experiences, your life with somebody, but that person just is completely neglectful, just totally oblivious, like seemingly you would not exist at all. So I've chosen today's topic about the art of giving because I feel in these times there's a lot of people who are feeling disempowered. They feel they don't have a voice, or they don't have anything to give, or people don't consider them as an asset, rather as a liability. Have you ever been considered a liability? Or how does it make you feel? Would you rather be seen as an asset or as a liability? I guess it's obvious. So that has a lot to do with how do we feel that we can communicate and what are the contributions that we can make. When people hear about giving, they think like, well, I don't have anything to give, like I'm broke, or I'm in school, I'm in debt. You want some of my debt? So what I'd like you to do right now, just in your mind, think of some things that you can actually give, that you can contribute besides money. And just to help you out, think of the 3 greatest gifts that you've received in your life. Just mentally. Okay, that wasn't that hard, right? So, and most likely they're not things you can buy in the store or you can order online, but they're kind of precious gifts that somebody has given you. Has it ever happened to you that somebody actually gave you their undivided attention? That they just fully were there for you? There was no distractions. There was no other agendas or issues. They simply completely focused on you and what you wanted to tell them. And that kind of opens up your heart. That kind of captivates and captures our heart. So I would like you to make a list of things that you can give, that you can share, and start giving. Start giving today. It's a very powerful process because, as we mentioned earlier, Bhakti is about relationships, and relationships means give and take. And unless we enter into such relationships of give and take, we'll feel blocked, we'll feel neglected, we'll feel unhappy. When we hear of famous people, we don't necessarily think how much money they have or how many properties or acquisitions they possess. Like, for instance, if you hear of Mother Teresa, she was in Calcutta, she was a nun, so she had a vow of poverty, but her gift that she gave was that she gave the poor people a face and a voice. More than that. So that's what made her famous. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in jail, breaking rocks on an island. And he's considered the father of the Rainbow Nation, South Africa. So he paid a heavy price, and that was his gift to his nation. Mahatma Gandhi, who is on every single currency bill in India, is considered a hero. And he gave his life for the modern India. So giving a gift always comes with a certain sacrifice. And that is natural. That is just tied into it. So we'll speak a little bit about what makes giving so special and what are different ways of giving and giving in the modes of material nature, and what is the ultimate or the supreme gift that we can give to others. But at this point, I would like to open up for questions. If something has come to your mind that you would like to ask, now is the time.
You can unmute yourself and ask any questions. I also have Manya who is monitoring Facebook. So if there are any questions on Facebook also, that will be coming in. So please go ahead. Till others join, I was just reflecting on what you mentioned, Navina, Prabhu, that when somebody's offering something, typically even I have the same, I still maybe to some extent have the same tendency of not trying to take favors, but you're right. Like same thing when it happens to me, when somebody else I'm giving with to somebody else and they don't take it, I have the same feeling, and I was introspecting how to avoid that, in the sense how to not feel like you're taking favor, but how to make sure it exchange so that you don't feel that you've taken some favor. So that was one point I was contemplating when you mentioned that.
Thank you.
Anyone
Yes,
else?
Carol. You got to unmute yourself, otherwise we can't hear you.
There we go. With the gifts of kindness, love, connection and peace, those kinds of things, the time seems to always be right. Like it's hard to offend someone or for someone not to see or even notice kindness. You know, I think to have the time to just stop and glance at someone, or they are big things, but they're still giving things, aren't they?
Thank you, Carol. Yeah, it's interesting on that note. They actually made a survey amongst 2,000 kids who go to school, and the topic, what they would like, what is their wish, what they desire, and 2/3 of them said that they want more quality time with their parents. and vice versa, the parents also, 70% of them also said the same thing. So which means that it's really not so much about transactional relationships, but rather spending quality time together, which will lead to a transformational experience where we actually feel the bonding and there is an exchange of heart to heart. And that is always possible if we are open for it. Thank you, Carol. Other points?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I really like the point of undivided attention, because I feel that in my relationships with my parents or with my close friends, it's the undivided attention that they have given me, because of which I have a specific, a loving relationship with them. It's not so much about the money, although that is also a factor, but it's more about the care that they have given me, the time that they have given me. That's why my relationship is so strong with them. Thank you.
Thank you
For that.
Avantika, you're next.
I had a question. So what's a good way where you can develop the mindset of giving more than you take?
Thank you. It's a good question. Sometimes it's difficult because in certain relationships, like I remember I went to my grandma, and I mean, she was great, you know, she picked me up at the train station. She cooked apple pies for me. She took me to the pool. I laid in her bed and she read stories to me. And it seemed like that the only thing that I could give her was just a happy kid who just takes. And that was the only thing that I could give her, because I had nothing else to give. So depending on who you are and what's yours to give, then you have different things that you can give. So, and don't underestimate, you know, your attention and your concern. Like, I have a person who how to put this, who went through some stormy times, and I reached out to that person after a few decades and sent him a letter and just thanked him for all the things that he did for me and for the other people at that time. And I got a response back from another person that that letter made his day. In fact, it made his life. And now you have to understand, this is a New York lawyer, you know, a grandfather, a very mature person. So never underestimate, you know, like writing a little note or a letter. Sometimes we think like, what about so-and-so? I haven't heard of that person like for years, you know, like somebody comes to your mind from your school days, or, you know, long time ago or not so long ago. And you just reach out to them and you'd be surprised. And so give and take, again, it's not so much in quantity, but it's more in that we actually reciprocate, we acknowledge. So sometimes it just means we take and we just say thank you. And that was really wonderful. And that's the most satisfying for the other person, that we can actually give to that other person.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Carol?
I just wanted to add your little...
on your mind.
Yes. I just wanted to add your little story, the story about your grandmother. I bet as a grandmother, that was all she wanted, was what you were giving her when you mentioned it.
Yes. And she was perfectly all right with that. That's why grandmothers are great. We all need grandmothers. And then they're gone and you're like, what happened? You know, I'm all by myself now, and you know, who's there for me? And it's just not the same anymore, you know? All of a sudden it's all about, you know, what you want, and it becomes more transactional. So
it's a beautiful place to be, where
Yeah.
you can give unconditional love. You don't want anything else. You just really want that time with your grandchildren.
Yes. And that's why it says that Bhakti, actually, the love for a mother for the child, or the grandmother, is the closest to the relationship that we have with Krishna, because he gives us unconditional love. Which takes us to the second part, and it is about giving in the modes of material nature. Because there are different ways of giving, and they're not all equal. So, like right now in these times, some people, they're cleaning out their garage and they're putting out things on the curb, or they're bringing it down to Goodwills, or they're just putting it into the landfill. And then there is giving, which is unconsiderate. We're not really aware of what the person needs or wants, but it's more of a selfish, a self-fulfilling type of giving. Like somebody wants to show off. So for instance, if you hand a drug user some money, most likely they'll just put it into drugs and they'll cause harm to themselves. So it's not really beneficial for that person, nor for the person who gives. So that's considered giving in the mode of ignorance. And there's giving in the mode of passion, which is there is some strings attached. There's some fruitive motive. We're thinking, oh, I'll gain fame, I'll gain recognition, or I have to give because it's expected of me from a political or a economic point of view, from a business perspective, it would be advantageous to give here. Or people just give to their own charities, you know, they create a charity and they just give all their money to their own charity. So basically they just put it from left pocket to right pocket, but they're still controlling it. So how much have they actually given? And then there's giving in a mode of goodness, which means it's the right person, the right time, the right mindset. It's given out of a sense of duty and obligation. And so it's actually constructive. It's actually doing something good, like people who are putting money into education and things like that. And then there is a higher level of giving that we're going to discuss just in a minute, but I'll again take some reflections on giving in the different modes of material nature.
Till any reflections come, I do have a comment from Lynn on Facebook. Lynn mentions that what a wonderful gift that you mentioned, the gift of being a happy person around others. I never considered this as a gift to another, so thank you for pointing it out. Thank you, Lynn. Thanks for that comment. Yeah, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself and ask any questions or share a reflection.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the three categories of giving. Could you explain a little bit more about the mode of, about the goodness? Any examples or anything? Just to,
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. So yeah, giving in the mode of goodness means that we're giving out of a sense of duty, out of a sense of obligation. We actually acknowledge that we have an obligation, we have a sacred duty. It is in our best interest to support, as I said, education, healthcare, people who are in need, and to give them the right things at the right time. That is, especially for people who are in working, who are in business, or who have a job, they have an income, they have a family. So for them, it's even more so of a responsibility because they consider everybody as their children or as their extended family. So you want your family to be well, like you're concerned about your parents, not just that they're healthy, but that they're also doing okay. And so when we have this mindset of people are part of our community, like here we're talking to Bhakti community. So I'm looking at you and I want to make sure you're all right, you know, like if somebody would be completely depressed and morose or really feeling unhappy, then naturally you'd feel affected by that and you want to change that. That's just a normal quality. So in giving in the mode of goodness, we're aware of the need, the concerns and the interests of individuals, and we are anticipating those needs and we're fulfilling them. And if we manage to do that even before the person has to ask, then that is a wonderful experience. When somebody is so attentive and so in tune, you know, like a host, and they're really in touch with your needs and they're trying to please you. I mean, we've all had experiences that you go to someone's place and they really look after you. They find out what is your favorite dish and they made sure you got it. And then you have another experience where you go to someone's place and they pretend like you're not there. They just ignore you. and you feel like, why am I wasting my time here? You know, like it's not really, this is not really productive. This is not working out. I need to be somewhere else. So in the mode of goodness, we are actually conscious, not just of ourselves and our surroundings, but of other people and their needs. And we know how to help them to fulfill their needs.
So, okay, thank you for that explanation. I have a follow-up. So can we say the Mother Teresa and Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, were their gifts in the mode of goodness?
Certainly, they have given gifts in a mode of goodness, because otherwise you wouldn't hear about it, you know, decades later, because it wouldn't be memorable. It wouldn't be something that people actually care or bother to remember. Only when relationships are of such, then people actually glorify such persons, and they actually admire such persons' examples. So thank you for
Thank
that
you.
question. So that brings us to the third topic of today, which is giving the greatest gift. And what is the greatest gift? Just like if you would have the cure to COVID, how much would that be worth? A lot, yeah. I know from a friend who is working in a hospital in Washington, D.C., that right now there is 7 different vaccines who are in trial stage. So everyone's trying to make the race, and you know, so if you'd have the cure to cancer, if you would have the cure to broken relationships, if you would have the cure to war, how much would that cure be worth? Approximately, roughly. Just give me an estimate. It's priceless, right? But what is the greatest gift that you can give anybody? Besides all those beautiful things that we just mentioned before, the greatest gift that we can actually give a person is fearlessness. Have you noticed that there's a lot of fear going on in this world? And no need to push any emotional buttons, but like I ask people sometimes, how is your karma? And they go like, how is my car? What's wrong with my car? Where is my car? And they start freaking out. And I'm like, it's okay. You know, your car is fine. It's you that I'm worried about, not your car. You know, don't love things because they won't love you back. So the greatest gift is fearlessness, because in this world of names, it's very easy to develop fear, because we think I've worked so hard to make it to the point in life of where I'm at. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose any of my assets and my situation. So when I first read this verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that the soul is immortal, that you're eternal, you're a child of immortality, you're not going to die. To me, that was the greatest gift I've ever received. When I opened the Gita and I read that verse, I was like, wow, this is massive. This is cosmogonal. because I never read something like that struck such a chord with me. And not only am I eternal, I'm actually a conscious, knowledgeable, and I'm a blissful living being. That is my original state. That is my birthright. I felt very empowered. I felt like this really made my day. So whenever I feel that fear or doubt or trouble is brooding and is starting to affect me, I just take a step back and I reflect, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Even if everything goes wrong, I'm still eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. So it's not that bad, you know, even if things don't really always work out the way that they are supposed to work out according to our mental construct. So to give people this greatest gift of fearlessness is quite possible if we have accepted this gift, because you can only give what you got. If you don't have it, you can't give it. So first of all, to actually accept the gift and to embrace it and to cherish it, to value it, and then to share it with whomever we meet. And I'd like to share a little story just to close up. A couple of years ago, I was in Rishikesh with about a dozen friends, and we were chanting and dancing around Lakshman Jhula, just below German Bakery, at the landing of the bridge. And quite a crowd gathered, and we were chanting and dancing. It was very exuberant. It was very joyous. And there was one beggar who was sitting on the stairs, and he had his metal cup, and he was a professional beggar. It was his job. So he was watching us, and he's looking kind of morose and downtrodden, is dressed poorly. But when he examined us chanting and dancing, after a while, he got tired of being a beggar. And he picked up his cup and put it in his pocket and came and joined us. And he started dancing around with us. And he got so emotional and he got so into it that at some point he reached into his pocket and he took out a whole wad of money, all 10 rupee notes. And he started putting money into the pockets of all the people who were dancing. And he wanted to show everybody, I'm not a beggar. I'm a wealthy person. I've got something to give. And I saw with my own eyes that he had just received the biggest gift that you can actually receive. What is that? That you transform from a scarcity mentality to a mentality of abundance, a mentality of I've got nothing to give and nobody cares about me, to look, I'm flying high, I'm doing good, and I'm ready to share this with everyone else. So Krishna in the Gita is asking us to offer him a leaf, a fruit, some water with love, and that he will actually accept it, that he will be happy, he will be satisfied with that. So he has made it very easy for us to actually offer something to him. I don't know how many people would be satisfied with a leaf, you know, or or just a little bit of water. So that is very modest. And he's not really in want, but he's giving us this opportunity. So this process, this path of bhakti, is actually empowering us to receive and share this greatest gift. So 55 years ago today, Srila Prabhupada boarded the Jaladuta. He went on this grand voyage to America because he had received an instruction from his spiritual teacher 43 years before that. And it took him 43 years of preparation. And he tried hard in India for almost 10 years to share this gift with people, but people were not very receptive. So he decided that let me go to America, and if they will accept this gift, because everyone looks towards America, then people will accept it. And so at the age of 70, he ventured out on a cargo ship with no money in his pocket, no friends and connections, simply with a few books and the instructions of his spiritual teacher. And that shows to me that sometimes if your gift may not be appreciated in one place, you may have to look for a different clientele. You may have to look for a different audience or for a different place. You may have to make a move. And then you will also face obstacles, even if your intentions are very honorable. Like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the story of Bali Maharaj, who was ready to give the universe when Vamandev, the Supreme, asked him for it. Yet there were so many people who were objecting. Some of his relatives, some of his ministers, his own teacher, his own guru says, no, 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 don't do it. Don't give. So, yet he was convinced, he was focused in his vow, in his determination to carry through with his promise. So that shows to us that even when you want to give, there will be obstacles. And sometimes you have to struggle and persevere in order to actually fulfill your sacred duty of doing the right thing. So I'd like to open up. We have a few more questions or reflections or comments. Sveka, you had unmuted yourself.
Yeah. I just had a realization, or I was reflecting on
Yes.
what Srila Prabhupada gave us when he came to America. And I was thinking about how lucky we are to know that we are not this body and that we have a soul and that we're connected to the Supreme and the Eternal. And that there's a higher place than just this world, because so many people think that this is the all be all, that they die and like that's it. But the fact that we live in a world where there's so much suffering, to think that this is it is quite depressing. So it's such a gift that we know that there is a much, much better place that we can attain relatively easily. So yeah.
Thank you, Sveka. Yes, because people, they don't see your gift, you know. They look at you, they take one look at you, and then they think, if I accept your gift, I'm going to become like you. So our obligation is to, you know, look ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves, do I want to meet this person? Would I want to become like this person? Or what could I improve in myself to actually make it easier for people to relate to me and to accept whatever it is that I can give them? And so, as you've mentioned, otherwise it can be kind of depressing when we just see the negativity and all the things that are not working out and all the scarcity and all the lacking that's going on. But if you're truly happy, then that's actually a great gift. Why are people so interested in watching movies? I mean, I don't know why. You tell me. But mostly they just want to see some people who are seemingly enjoying and having a good time, right? Or even if they're doing other things, at least it takes people's minds off their own situation right now. I can't see the chat, but
Yeah. So Shekha just mentioned
yes,
they get to live vicariously through the characters. I think that's why they.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we do have Helena who just came on. She says, "Thank you. I came on late. I hope there is a recording that I can watch. What I heard here at the end was so inspiring. So thank you for that." This is Helena on Facebook. And yeah, if anyone has any other reflection questions, please unmute or post on chat. We are watching. Lynn, I think, just posted on Facebook. Manya has posted. Lynn McDougall says, I think that your commentary about how important it is to be able to discern, as Srila Prabhupada did, when it is worth pursuing your wish to offer them something, and when it is best to walk away. Maybe the walking away is the best gift in the end, as it avoids disturbing their mind.
Thank you. Yes, sometimes we have to realize that it's not meant to be. and this is not the right situation. This is not a good fit. And I better move on. So especially if people are hostile, if they're inimical, or they would use your gift against you or others, then be discerning. Don't do it to yourself, you know? Like, you see sometimes people, you don't just, I don't know if you ever noticed, but sometimes people, they lower their car window and they throw something out, and then the person doesn't really appreciate it and that throws it right back at them, you know? So, because something was not really a good fit. It was not really matching. So when we see that people are not, or the situation is not responsive and appreciative, then, you know, it says don't teach unless you're hired. Like, very forthcoming and giving, you know, critique and comments, and but it might just not be your job to do so. And even though you might be saying the right things, maybe people can't hear it or they can't appreciate it from you. So thank you for reminding us of that. Carol?
I just want to thank you for your deep gifts today. There's so many things I'll take away from that, but the greatest gift I take away today is that fearlessness, the gift of fearlessness. And you know, where I live in Victoria right now, it's a very, very fear-centered kind of world in Victoria. And everywhere it seems like we're surrounded by fear. And I will take that and reflect on that, and I'll pass that on to others today, that gift of fearlessness.
Well, thank you, Carol, for sharing that. So in Sanskrit, the line of teachers, the tradition is called sampradaya. It's a lineage of spiritual teachers. Sampradaya. Sam also means complete, and pradaya means to give. So the line of teachers is giving the complete gift. It's like if you went to go fruit picking, and this is before they had all these fancy devices. People used to actually hand down fruits like mangoes. When they're ripe, you can't just drop them, otherwise they'll get damaged. So they will hand them down. And so the gift gets handed down through the line of teachers. And it's not just carelessly tossed, but people are giving it very respectfully, and they're receiving it in a similar manner. So the line of teachers is called sampradaya. That's why it's important that we are in a lineage and that we are aware of that lineage. Sometimes people, they say, well, why can't I just, you know, read the book or look it up on YouTube or on Facebook? Why do I need a teacher for that? It's because otherwise you're missing out on that gift of love that's being handed down from teacher to student, and they all enrich it with their own realizations and with their own wisdom, so that we are actually getting the complete gift, not just something that appeals to our mind or to our intellect or to our emotions, but something that actually affects us on the deepest level of our hearts, of our soul, of our being. And for that matter, it is wonderful to see that such lineages do still exist, and we can avail ourselves of that by reading the Bhakti texts, especially the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, that Srila Prabhupada painstakingly translated and brought for us. and we can share this with others. What of a gift if you can give people fearlessness? You can take away their fear. I have friends who working in hospice care, and oftentimes they're astounded at how lonely people are in their last stages, in their last phase of life. And oftentimes it's not just because of circumstances that, you know, people can't visit because they're in isolation, but it's just seemingly people have just considered that this person doesn't have anything to give. Today I was just watching some memories for a person who I knew very closely, and they're all saying that in that departure, in that death, that person actually gave the greatest gift, the greatest example to all the others who are still here living. So it's kind of a new way of thinking. How can the person who leaves the world be the one who gives the gift, and the ones who are staying behind are the ones who are receiving it? But this is the ultimate test, and this is the ultimate lesson that we are to learn. And that is possible when we actually embrace this greatest gift of fearlessness. So thank you all for giving me the gift of your undivided attention and your presence. It's been a joy. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. We're going to speak about Hanuman and some of his qualities. So stay tuned on Bhakti Community. There is more Bhakti action going to happen here on this channel. And if you like it, tell some of your friends to also join in. Thank you, JM, for hosting this event, and I hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. It was very refreshing today to hear about art of giving, including the stories that you mentioned. They're pretty captivating. Even I was thinking how that beggar was transformed in a few moments, a few minutes, into somebody who did not have anything to somebody who's ready to give everything. I was just contemplating on that. So thanks so much for this. And yeah, we definitely are looking forward to the next session, learning about Hanuman. And thank you everyone for joining today. Please, if you have any questions, follow up for Navina, drop it on Facebook, and do share the video across your family and friends so they can also benefit from you. Thank you very, very much, Navina, for starting a great show.
Thank you, JM. And just as a small reminder, please do make that list of things that you can share, that you can give, because this is a very empowering type of exercise. And believe it or not, it's not just a mind exercise. You can actually start giving today and see how it enriches your life, how it empowers you, and how it changes your relationship, how the dynamics change from you being the one who is in want to you being the person who's got something to give. All of a sudden, the tables just turned. and it will help us to grow. We grow by giving. I mean, it sounds like a conundrum. How can you grow by giving things away? But when you are remembering, again, as we started out, the love of our mothers and our grandmothers and how much they gave us and how giant figures they actually were or still are in our lives because of their selfless giving nature, then that should be a good indicator, a good yardstick for how we can actually grow in our own lives. Thank you very much. Have a great week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.